Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Mopping Up Milk podcast, the podcast where we clean up after ourselves. My name is May, and I am your host. And this week, I turned 26. And today, I want to discuss 25 things I learned by 25. But first, let's get on into the weekly spill real quick, and then we'll get into all of my life lessons up until this point. So the weekly spill this week will be quite quick. I guess what I want to share is that I had my birthday on Thursday. I turned 26 and I just had the best day. I spent the morning with my parents and my sister. They came up and had brunch with me. And then I went to class because, guys, I started school this week. I went back to school. How iconic. I had a full-on week. I have school Monday through Friday, so it was a bit hectic. But I went to school and I had the best dinner I've ever had in my life. It was a great way to start 26. I had omakase with my boyfriend Tommy. He absolutely treated me. I have never had a dinner like that in my life. Yum. Yum. So good. I just had a brilliant day. My week's been great. Just been at uni, back at uni, trying to figure out my bearings. It's a bit weird going back to uni, but I'll discuss that more in a future episode. Today is about all of my learnings in my 25 years. I'm going to keep it all short and sweet. Well, let's get on into 25 things I learnt by 25. Okie dokie. I thought this was fitting, seeing as though it's my birthday week. I feel like every year on my birthday, it's a good time for me to reflect. And this year, turning 26, I wanted to think about all of the things I learnt by 25. And obviously, I've learnt a lot and I've learnt more than 25 things, but these are the first ones that came to my head as I was going along. And I feel like a lot of these things are things I haven't thought about in a long time because I was thinking back to primary school days, what I've literally learnt through my whole life. So let me break down my 25 things to you all. Hopefully you guys can sort of pull maybe bits and pieces from here, but this is just me reflecting on my life so far, really. Without further ado, let's get on into it. I will be I want to kind of move on through these pretty quickly. I don't want to bore anybody. I'll probably just, touch on whatever thing it is I've learned and maybe a little bit of my experience with that or why I learned that and move on. Because I feel like later on down the track, each one of these tips or tricks or things that I've learned can be their whole own episode. So I won't go into too much depth, but if you guys hear something that you want to hear more about, just let me know in the comments and maybe I'll do an episode on it in the future. But let's start with number 1. This one's for the ladies. Blush is your best friend. Let's just start there. The amount of time I spent as a teenager turning into a young adult or an adult, I didn't wear blush until I was literally, I reckon 23. Yeah, I know, 23. I had no dimension in my face. I literally had foundation, and some lip gloss and some mascara, and I had no dimension in my face. So ladies, I want to encourage you to implore the idea of using blush. Blush is now my best friend. And the more blush, the better. I think it is so freaking cute. It is so cute. And it looks like you're alive. It looks like you're alive when you got a bit of a blush in your face. It looks more natural. And that's what I really like. So blush is my best friend. Number 2 is find a solo hobby. This is my solo hobby that I've finally dived into on my own. For the longest time, I was doing hobbies with other people, doing hobbies for other people, to bond with other people. This is my time. This is my solo hobby. When you start a solo hobby, you learn so much about yourself, and also you're doing something for yourself. It is a bit of self-love, self-care, and it's time to spend with yourself. So I highly encourage you guys to try a solo hobby. At the end of the day, you're just spending quality time with yourself and doing something for yourself that isn't for anyone else. So number 2 is find a solo hobby. 3, I mentioned briefly in a previous episode, but dressing to be snatched is ruining your personal style. Ladies and gents, and anyone listening to this right now, at the end of the day, life isn't about being snatched. Personal style trumps being snatched. I'm telling you right now. That's all. Number 4 is immerse yourself in different cultures. I have learnt so much about myself and about others through immersing myself in other cultures. It might be meeting people from a different culture. It might be going to a cooking class and learning about another culture's food. I just think that there is so much out there that I haven't learned yet. And I feel like, I don't know, it's just something I really, really love is learning about other people and their stories. And, you know, you might find a food that is, it's your favorite food, but you haven't eaten it yet, you know? Like, just, I won't go too much into it before, immerse yourself in different cultures. 5, never chase a boy. And guys, never chase a girl. Like, we're not chasing, we're attracting. The amount of mental effort that goes into chasing someone is really not worth it. At the end of the day, if you're chasing someone and trying to make them like you, I think you'll find that you're being less and less like yourself and trying to be more like someone else to chase that person. I just feel like chasing someone leads you astray. So the right person will come to you and you will attract someone that's meant to be for you. 5, we've discussed this before, is let them. This is a recent discovery for me. At 25 years old, I learned to let them. And the amount of mental stress that has been relieved through letting people do what they want to do is amazing. It is massive. It's crazy. I feel like I'm a lot more stress-free when I just think to myself, okay, that's their problem. I'm going to let them do what they're going to do. I'm doing me. And that's all that matters at the end of the day is myself. All that matters for you at the end of the day is yourself, and just worry about you. Don't worry about what other people are doing, because some people are fucking weird. All right. Number 7 is friends are meant to energize you, not drain you. And stemming from that, number 8 is normalize friendship breakups and breakdowns. We need to normalize ending friendships that aren't serving you. That has been a big one. I spent a lot of time trying to please friends and please other people because I thought that I needed them in my life, but really they just weren't serving me. And I was wasting a lot of my time and effort trying to make someone like me, when at the end of the day, I can find people that like me without trying. You know, like people who want to like me are going to like me. All right, number 9. You're not going to figure out what you want to do with your life at 18 or even at 25. Some people may be very lucky and figure out what they want to do at 18, but I bet you they might change their mind when they're older. You're never really going to know. I feel like it's really hard for people in high school. I feel like they're made to believe they need to know what they're going to do straight out of high school. When really I feel like you need to go out of high school, you need to live your life, and then figure out what you want to do with yourself. Don't feel pressured into knowing what you want to do with your life. I still don't really know. I'm at uni now and I'm thinking I might be on the right path, but I don't know exactly where that's going to lead me. I want to reassure everyone that it's okay to not know what you want to do with yourself or with your life. Oh my God, that is just a big one for me. You guys, you don't need to know. A quote with that is one I've mentioned before, and it's, I don't need to figure out my whole life. I just need to figure out today. All right. Now, we're going to mix it up a little bit. And number 10 is going to be a piece of advice that my dad has given me. I called up my mum and my dad and I was like, hey guys, what is one piece of advice you would give me right now, or a piece of advice that you've been telling me my whole life? My dad came back to me with, don't sweat the small stuff. And this is something my dad has been saying to me my whole life, whether it's with relationships, whether it's to do with friendships, whether it's to do with school. It's just don't sweat the small stuff, because at the end of the day, it's just not worth it. This tiny little thing isn't going to impact me in the long term. It's better to either compromise or just keep going. It's going to be okay. Just don't sweat the small little things. Another thing my dad said to me on the phone, which was really sweet, was make sure the things you are doing is making you a good person. And good person is open to interpretation. Good person means something different to everyone. But for you personally, and for me personally, I'm going to act in a way that would make me a good person to myself. The little things I do every day, I'm going to think, is this making me a good person? Number 11 comes from my mama, which is number 11. My mum said, friends come and go, and everyone's on a different path, even if they're the same age as you. This refers to one of the previous things that I just mentioned, which was that normalizing friendship breakups and, letting go of people who aren't serving you. My mum has been through it with me, obviously. I went through some bouts of bullying in high school where I was trying to make people like me, even though they were hanging shit on me in school. And my mum always told me that it's okay. You've got your whole life ahead of you. You've got so many friendships to make. You don't need this one. And it's funny that when I was collating this list, I had a few revolving around, if friendships aren't serving you, move on. And that comes from this advice that my mum's been giving me my whole life. And it's not till I was an adult that I realized, oh shit, yeah, she was right. I don't need to keep every single friendship. Not every single person is going to serve me, even if they were in my life since I was little. My mum also told me that it's okay to make mistakes. She said that myself and my sisters, when we were little, we didn't like to try things unless we knew we were going to be good at them. But my mum is saying that, we won't grow unless we make mistakes. And I have learnt that growing up, that a lot of my growth has come from mistakes. And a few of the things that I've thought of, a few of my learnings that I will speak about after this, do revolve around making mistakes and the importance of it. That was really nice hearing from my mum, and it's funny to see how a lot of my learnings have come from things my parents have said when I was younger. My mum also ended with saying that I'm enough, which was really sweet. Okay, let's go on to number 12, and that is sometimes you don't have to sacrifice enjoyment for progression. A few moments in my life have made me think this way. Not everything has to progress. Some things are okay the way they are. I think that hustle culture these days is kind of intense and makes everyone think that we need to do better and be better. And of course it is good to do better and be better, but not every aspect of our life has to progress to the highest level. I think that a hobby is sometimes good to stay as a hobby. It doesn't need to become a profession. I think you can interpret that in whatever way you want to, but I just think that sometimes people need to be reminded that you don't need to sacrifice your enjoyment for progression of something. Just for an example of this, basketball for me, I don't know if I've shared this before, but I used to play semi-professional basketball and my enjoyment faded very quickly after taking it to that level. So things can just stay a hobby and you can keep your enjoyment there. Sometimes when you take a hobby too far or something too far, it doesn't become enjoyable anymore. And that's when you sort of need to take a look at it and be like, oh, what have I done or where have I taken this that's made it not enjoyable anymore? But it's just a good point of reflection. If something doesn't feel enjoyable anymore, maybe think to why that could be. And maybe it's because you've taken it to another level. And sometimes that's okay if that's what you want to do. But I'll just leave that one there. This sort of works in with number 12. It is constantly remind yourself of why you started something. Maybe write down your values before you start something so that you can refer back to why you started something. An example of this is that my partner Tommy and I, we run a sort of foodie travel TikTok page called Weekender Creative. And it originally started with regional travel content because that's what we really enjoy doing, and we enjoy telling stories about places. And it got to a point where, we'd been invited to go have dinner at places and collab with places. And it started to be just solely city content and content revolving around places we've been invited to in the city of Melbourne and less about regional content. And that's where our spark got lost. So we sort of had to remind ourselves why we started Weekender Creative. So we've sort of taken the foot off the pedal. And we want to revert back to doing regional content because our enjoyment got lost in the process of, maybe monetizing the account or, being invited places. So that's where I personally have reflected and gone, why did I start this? And why have I lost enjoyment? So that's just a hot tip, is to write down your core values of something before you start it, or your reasons as to why you're starting something, so you can remind yourself and reflect every now and again when maybe you might be straying from the track. Number 14 is quite simple, and it's don't just stick to what you grew up with or what you're used to. I feel like a lot of my learnings come from moving out of home and learning new things and being immersed in this whole new world, which was for me moving to Melbourne and going to uni and trying new things, trying new hobbies. And Really recommend people try new things and step out of their comfort zone a little bit. Okay, number 15 is a very important one that I've learnt in the past, I don't know, maybe a year or two, is that one negative thing does not ruin your whole day. For example, I might be having a great day. 10 positive things might have happened to me in this day. And then one little negative thing happened. Maybe I had a little argument with somebody. In the past, I would let that ruin my whole day and taint my whole day. I'll be like, oh shit, this bad thing's happened, so my whole day is ruined. Recently, literally over the last year or so, I've realized that I need to look at the big picture and think about all these amazing positive things that happen in the day and not let this negative thing outweigh it. 10 things, 10 to 1. I think the 10 positive things outweigh that one. I need to not let that negative thing bring everything else down. So that's that one. One negative thing does not ruin your whole day. 16. Oh my God, I love this one. And it is travel around Australia. When I was around 10 years old, my parents popped me and my 3 sisters in a van all together and we traveled around Australia. And it is some of the best memories I've ever made. It was incredible witnessing what the rest of Australia looks like. I feel like a lot of us, when we think of traveling, we just straight away go, oh, what country we're going to visit next? And they haven't even traveled around Australia and like looked in our own backyard. We have got the most beautiful country and the most beautiful beaches, the most beautiful landscapes. I think we just need, I don't know, I just really, really love traveling around Australia and encourage people to do the same. Australia is just so fucking beautiful. That is all. Okay, 17. You must fail at things to grow. And this relates back to what my mama told me. And yeah, as I said, as a child, I wouldn't try things if I knew that I wasn't going to be the best at it. And I've learned over time that when I do fail at something, that's where I see my most growth. When I do go through hardship, that's when I see my most growth. So yeah, I don't think that failing should be necessarily viewed in such a bad way. It makes us stronger and also gives us coping mechanisms. It helps us navigate more efficiently through feelings and emotions. I just really feel strongly about failing at things. I feel like it's necessary for everyone to become stronger and more emotionally aware, honestly. Let's go a bit more lighthearted. 18 is Sunday morning market dates are serotonin boosting. Very self-explanatory. South Melbourne Market, Prahran Market are my happy places. And on a Sunday morning, I have got my takeaway coffee. I'm perusing through the market aisles, picking out some fresh fruit and having a great time. I think that is a great way to reset on a Sunday and relax your mind. Just walk around. I feel like it's very inspiring going to the market every Sunday. So that is a hot tip from me that I've learned, is that Sunday morning market runs are, in fact, very serotonin boosting. 19. A good friend won't make you feel like you need to prove yourself. Quite simple. I think that good friends will understand you and won't make you prove yourself. For example, my best mate, I could go without talking to her for like a week and she won't question me. She'll be like, okay, Megan's probably got something going on. She's too busy right now and that's all right. I'll chat to her when I chat to her. There's no pressure and there's no expectations. There's no, you're my best friend, so obviously you need to talk to me every day. That's just a little toxic, isn't it? I think that, real friends won't make you prove yourself. In the past, I've dealt with friends who you need to keep up appearances with to make them feel like you are a good friend. And honestly, they just weren't the people for me. And, it is what it is. 20 is, oh my God, this has been a battle for me because, let me just say it, 20 is work out for your mental health and not for your physical appearance. I might put a little trigger warning in here about weight and physical appearance. If you don't like hearing about those things, skip forward like a minute or two. Growing up for me, I had a lot of issues and self-esteem issues with my weight and my appearance. And I think that led to me associating working out with losing weight and solely just losing weight, whereas working out has so many benefits for your body, and the main one being your mental health. It does wonders for your mental health. And a lot of my life I spent working out. I spent my time working out to look a certain way rather than to feel a certain way. And it is so important for me to work out, and that is solely for my mental health, not for how I look. I feel like when I stopped thinking about how I was looking and started working out for my mental health, that's when I saw the most change anyway. When you're mentally feeling well, the physical follows. And that's what I've learned. 21 is very simple, and it's you know what's best for you at the end of the day. Sometimes, in some parts of my life, I had become quite codependent on different people throughout my life and relied on them giving answers for myself and things that at the end of the day were my decision, but I gave that decision to someone else. And, sometimes that wouldn't work out because that person doesn't really know me as well as I know myself. When I'm making decisions that relate directly and only to me, I'm going to make them for myself. Because, at the end of the day, I know myself the best. Guys, I've kind of lost track of the numbers, but what is happening? Guys, I'm not sure if I've lost track of numbers or not, but I think I'm on 23. If I'm not, forgive me. But 23 is do the 16 personality quiz. It will help you understand yourself. I just highly recommend you take that quiz. When I did that quiz, I felt so seen and so heard. 24 is communication is one of your strongest assets. If you can communicate and articulate yourself well in various different settings, you are setting yourself up for so much success. Whether it's relationships, I think it's so important to communicate. Even if it feels a little silly to communicate, I don't think it matters as long as you're communicating and letting other people know how you feel. This could be in many different parts of your life. If you're communicating well, I think you're really setting yourself up for success. And lastly, 25 is compromise is key in relationships. We're not always going to see eye to eye with everybody. It's just not possible. And I think it's important to learn this sooner rather than later. Both parties need a compromise at times. It's just how life is, and it will help you get through hard times. It'll help you navigate things more efficiently when you decide that it's okay to compromise with other people. And that is 25 things I've learned by 25. There's definitely a lot more things that I have learned and I just haven't been able to get down into 25 points, but I think that this was a really fun exercise for me to reflect, and actually I'd recommend anyone to do this, even, it doesn't matter how old you are. It's really good to reflect on things you've learned, and it sort of makes you realize your core values as a person. I asked my sisters to send me in some advice for me also, and they pretty much said that, at the end of the day, we're all going to cark it, so you should do whatever the fuck you want to do. And that is pretty much verbatim. So there's my sister's advice, a little bonus for you. Well, I think that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining me once again for my little weekly ramble. I appreciate you guys so much for listening and being here and supporting me. I had the best week, and thank you so much for the birthday love and wishes. I'm going to wrap it up here. I've said a lot and brain dumped a lot on you today, so we'll keep it short and sweet. I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Please like and subscribe, download wherever you're listening, and I will catch you next week for another episode of the Mopping Up Milk podcast. Bye guys.